positive decisions, positive actions would only matter and would only impact, the outcome if it's consistent. So it's not just all about, starting it. Like I've had people say, oh, Andrew, you give an awesome talk. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Then after a week, it's not consistent.
Yeah.
It's just like if you're working out, you're trying to maybe, you have like a weight goal or probably a body mass goal.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Our Lives Narratives. This platform gives everyday people the opportunity to share their stories and tell their experiences with the hope that will impact the world and help provide information that would transform as many lives out there as possible. Today, we'll be looking and talking all about financing. Our guest has over 14 years of experience in the financial sector. And we're so delighted and so happy to have him here today to share some of his experiences. He's got a lot. So as much as we're able to tap in today, we will do our utmost best. So stay put and help me welcome our guest for today. He is a co-founder of Fleetwire Incorporation. You'll help me welcome Andrew Enyagberue.
Thank you very much, Annette. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here because I know when it comes to finances and all of that, that's not something we always talk about.
True.
And especially in our, in the immigrant demographics, it's a conversation that we should be having as often as possible. So thank you. I appreciate your time here. And I cannot wait for all of our viewers to tap into all of you. Well, not all, some, some of the many years of experiences that you've had in the finance world. So I'd like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Andrew Enyagberue, and I'm the co-founder of Fleetwire Incorporation. I'm from Nigeria, Delta born, and south of Nigeria, and it's a pleasure to be here today.
Awesome. Well, for all you Nigerians out there, shout out.
Yes.
We have a brother in the house. So Andrew and I've known Andrew for a while, and he is a brother from, Winners Chapel. We go to the same church. So this episode is, dedicated to all of our Winners family out there.
Yes.
Most specifically, Winners Chapel International Edmonton. So if you're watching, hello.
Hi.
So one thing I admire about you, Andrew, is just the fact that it's not because I'm on camera, but I just want to take this time to say thank you because you're one of the most caring person at church. Why I say this? When you're in any organization and you're active and people always see smiles and all of that. They don't really, we all go through our ups and downs, right? We all go through challenges. But whenever you don't see me go to church, at least you give me one Sunday. If you don't see me the following Sunday, you're checking on me. Yeah. And I really appreciate it. And it's not just me. I know when people are that active, sometimes we take them for granted.
True.
So thank you
You're
for
welcome.
always checking on me and my family.
You're welcome.
So today is all about financial literacy and budgeting. So we'll dive right into it right away.
True.
So Andrew, we'll just like to know a little bit more about young Andrew growing up in Nigeria.
Okay. Well, young Andrew, like I said, I'm from Nigeria and I grew up in Lagos, which is the western part of Nigeria, although I'm from Delta State, which is the south part. But my parents lived in Lagos. So growing up, I went through my early years educationally, schooling in Lagos, elementary, high school, and at the point where I went into the university, I went towards the south. I schooled in University of Benin, and my original career background, I studied animal science, agriculture for 5 years.
Oh.
And after that, I went to the compulsory 1 year National Youth Service Corps. It's a program where every Nigerian graduate goes for 1 year immediately after their university study. Then after that, you're introduced into the corporate world where you start to work or do anything else. And that 1 year is mandatory for you to be able to get some kind of jobs, high-end jobs, and of course, serve in the government as well. So growing up was very tough. I came from a very humble background, and my parents were very hardworking people. And I came from a family of 4 kids. My parents lived in the UK. Early stage, they went to school there, they lived there, and they gave birth to my elder siblings there. And at the time they decided that they wanted to give birth to me, that was when they decided to come back to Nigeria. And that was when I came into the picture. But I'm thankful to God for the opportunities that I had to experience. And I believe that's what makes me who I am today, because of the experiences, the failures, the successes. And
Thank
there's
you.
a whole lot to say about myself, but
sure
I'll just keep it to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
for sure.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So I like the 1 year post that you guys do.
Yes.
I find it such a great initiative because you talking the other day, you mentioned how it gives people the opportunity to move around, look at other culture, in Nigeria and all of that. So is that program still in existence in Nigeria?
Yes, it's still in existence, because the original objective of that program was to integrate the country more.
Okay.
Because Nigeria is made up of, I think, 36 states, still is. And just like how Canada is a multicultural environment, Nigeria is even more diverse. From the state where I'm from, we have like over 300 languages there in Delta states alone, talk less of the whole country, right? So I believe that the pioneers of that program thought it wise to, create a system where people would be able to travel to different parts of the country to experience culture, to experience how life is,
Right.
and to broaden their perspective. And again, it gives people the opportunity to have some kind of work experience for at least 1 year. Thereafter, they can, go into the world and, better relate to people from different parts of the country.
Right. Well, that's amazing. Great initiative, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so know that your background is finance, so we would be, talking about financial literacy and focusing more on budgeting. That's something after my heart, because I know I struggle.
Yeah, everyone does, honestly.
It takes a lot of discipline to be able to stay on course. So, we look forward to having some of those tips and tricks on
for
how
sure,
you can stay on track. All right. Okay, so I found something on the Government of Alberta website about financial literacy, and I'll just read that to set the tone, for our viewers based on of our conversation today.
Okay.
So this is a statement for a task force was set up in 2011 on financial literacy, and this statement was made to the Minister of Finance. So it reads, financial literacy is critical to the prosperity and financial well-being of Canadians. So what is financial literacy? Financial literacy is having the knowledge, skill, and confidence to make responsible financial decisions on financial matters. So with all your experience, what is financial literacy? Like, how would you explain that in layman's term
That's
to our viewers out there?
weekend language. Okay.
Right.
So first of all, before I explain what financial literacy is, I just want to share with the audience that I understand that, talking about money can be a tough conversation, especially for people from our community, immigrants most especially. But the most important thing is that if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So based on that, I personally would define financial literacy to be the understanding and the application of certain financial principles that help the individual to be able to save, to be able to borrow, and to be able to plan. So it consists of two major actions. You first of all have to even understand it first, and beyond the understanding, the application. So if you understand all of these concepts and you don't apply, then I think you're financially illiterate. Like if there's anything like that, right? So it goes hand in hand, the understanding and also the application of these principles to help, individuals make very informed financial decisions.
Wow, I like that. Nicely summarized.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna be focusing on budget, right? So, let's debunk all the myths around budgeting.
Okay.
So I like this one. I'm not really good at math. That's what people say. Oh, there's just too much expectations, right?
Yeah.
And another one that I like for myself is, I probably end up spending money anyways. So why even bother? So what, based off of your experience, what are some of those around budgeting?
Okay, well, some of the myths that I have encountered with my interaction with people is that first of all, it's too difficult. Some people think that budgeting is difficult, but try being broke or try being unable to meet your needs, family needs when you're supposed to. I think that's a more difficult situation to find yourself in. So it's a myth that people have believed over the years, and because of that, they just live life on the whim and just live life on the fly and just make decisions as they go along. And to be honest, life alone by itself is tough. And making it more complicated by not planning or budgeting is not, the best experience. So I'd like to debunk that myth that budgeting is difficult. It isn't difficult, honestly. The first exercise that you would have to do is to, first of all, plan and project what you think you need to spend, which is where the work is. You having to understand how your family or your operations look like financially. So once you've done that work the first time, the remaining, it's a home run, the remaining steps. Okay, the second myth I want to talk about is probably for some folks that think that you're not good at maths and budgeting is all about you being very knowledgeable about maths. The truth of the matter is budgeting has to do with debits and credits, money coming in and money going out. There's no calculus there. There's no divide dx there. There's no complexity there. With as little as an Excel and a few entries, you can actually set up a budget fundamentally and you'll be good to go. Then depending on how, sophisticated you are with applications and depending on, what you want to see, some guys are very good at looking at charts and looking at trends. Then that is now when budgeting can become, complex. But to be honest, you don't need to be a maths guru for you to be good at, to start budgeting. And another myth, again, as simple as it sounds, is that it doesn't matter. To be honest, there are some people that think that, making a plan for your finances or budgeting, it doesn't matter. You probably spend the money anyway. Some people also believe that, according to the Bible says that my God shall supply all my needs according to his riches in glory. So it doesn't really matter. God is going to supply my needs. But guess what? In the beginning, God is a planner. In Genesis 1 verse 26 to 27, he said, let us make man in our own image. So there was a plan. He didn't just make man just because he felt like making man. He made a plan. And if you even look at the order of creation from day 1 to day 6, you see that everything was strategically done. Man was not created on day 1 because there was no vegetation to sustain him. So all of those were a part of planning, budgeting that God did. So you having to say that it doesn't matter, then I think it's something that you may want to really reconsider.
Awesome. I like the analogy. Our God is for those that have faith, our God is a planner. And I find sometimes people of faith, that's the excuse that we use, not to plan. But hey, there you go. Andrew says, even our God is a planner. So
yes,
let's, work on that budget, plan for it. Okay. So you already started dishing some tips on budgeting, right? So there's something you refer to as budgeting architecture.
Yep.
Did you want to throw some lights on what that is?
Okay. So basically, as an architect or as a builder, if you're into construction, you understand that you can't build a roof first without building the foundation. You first of all have to build a foundation, then you go to the lintels, then other parts of the building for it to be structurally correct. So basically, in my opinion, I came up with this budgeting architecture that takes into consideration different aspects of budgeting that is very important. The first thing is to focus on the needs first. That's what makes you a going concern, what sustains you as a person or, your family needs. Then the next item to focus on will be your wants. Okay, that will be things that maybe you want to plan for, short-term, medium-term, or long-term, whatever it is. Then the third thing, I call it orders. So this can do with things that you may want to spend money on that is not really a need, and it doesn't fall under wants when we're talking about goals, short-term or long-term. Then the third one is orders. So in that order, if you are able to plan or budget accordingly, you wouldn't have issues. And the reason why I feel that this budget architecture is very key is in my little experience, I've seen, people go bankrupt or get into, deep financial issues because of an imbalance in their planning. They focus on the wants first. Then when it comes to the need, like, their housing needs and even up to groceries, they start to struggle in that area. And sometimes it forces them to seek some alternative debt solutions, which can, push them to, really dark places. But when people are able to plan with what comes in, realistically attending to their needs first, then when you are comfortable, you have food in your belly, you have a house over your head, you have a bed to, sleep, you can now, think about the future and make some very, very important decisions.
Amazing. So someone might say, oh, I want us to kind of break down wants versus needs. Someone might say, oh, I need a car.
Wow.
Or someone might say, oh, I need a house.
Wow.
But there's a yardstick. There are theories out there, that states what needs really are. Can you highlight what, differentiate needs versus wants?
Okay.
To put things into perspective, I know there is one of those theories, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's one of the yardsticks that you can use. So you can just, you just can't say, oh, I need a car.
Yeah.
Every maybe what I need, basically there's needs for everyone. Like there's that baseline for every individual overall.
Wow.
Right? So break down for us needs versus wants.
Okay.
Because when it comes to budgeting, those our needs is what you prioritize over wants.
Wow.
So I'll let you speak on that.
So basically, taking a cue from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what Maslow in his theory stated is true about the basic human needs: need for food, shelter, clothing, security, a house, love, acceptance, self-esteem, then self-actualization. All of those in that hierarchy, are needs of the human being, right? We all have a need to be accepted. We all have a need, to actualize our dreams, our goals. So breaking it down in simple terms for us, I need to state here as well that, my need may not be a need for you, right? So it's individual specific, and there's no one size fits all. There was a presentation I had recently with some folks, and on one of the slides, we're throwing up some items, and we're arguing whether those items are needs or wants, right? So basically, for example, maybe I'm into a business where I use a cell phone to, run my business, or for my business to be successful, right? And I need the state-of-the-art, Apple device, for example. So in my own scenario, having that would be a need, maybe the latest Apple device. But for someone else, that may be a want, but it's the same item. Right. So first of all, you need to understand what applies to you, because I always tell people that there's no two financial journey that is the same, not even for married couples. So what is categorized as a need for one person is different from the other. Now, we're talking about, basic things that is required for your existence: food, shelter, clothing. All those are needs, right? And now, for clothing, let's even start with clothing first of all. Basically, why do people wear clothes? It's to feel comfortable. We live in North America, and we know how cold the weather can be sometimes during winter, right? So you need something to keep you warm. Now, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm not going to mention brands, but you and I know that there are some, the basic need at this point to stay warm during winter is required. But again, we know that there are some high-end brands that, sell the same item that you could get at a reasonable price, in a decent, for a decent brand, right? And both of them are actually performing the same duty, keeping you warm. So why would someone, spend so much for something that they probably may not be able to afford just because they want to, for other personal reasons, maybe self-esteem reasons, instead of saving money on that same item on something that on a decent brand that will work, than, something that is on a high end expensive, right? So in that regard, the conversation or the argument between needs and what comes in for the same item, right? So I would just say it depends on the individual and, what is required for their daily existence and survival. That would count as needs. Then wants is, something that you can actually live without. Right? So I always tell people that, do you know that whenever the banks are trying to qualify you for a mortgage, cell phone bills is not classified as a need when they are qualifying you when it comes to, calculating your debt service ratio and all of that. Because in their mind, you can actually exist without a phone bill, or without using a phone, right? But for some people in our day and age, we of course require phones to communicate and stay in touch. But I'm just trying to discuss and bring this to limelight that, what may be a need for someone might not, be a need for the next person.
Well, really good. At the end of the day, you have to figure out as an individual what your needs versus your wants are. But keeping in mind, you have to look at your financial situation as well.
Exactly.
Right? Because that other friend or family, they might have more resources than you.
True. So
you just have to figure out, manage your resources as much as possible to take care of your, the analogy that you did about wearing clothes, right?
Yeah.
Determine the brand that will fit your budget.
Your budget, exactly.
Compared to what somebody else is doing.
Wow.
Really good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That. All right. So some budgeting, you've already highlighting them. Any additional budgeting tips for us? And what do you determine as a good, I don't know how I should put it. How should you go about budgeting, like in summary? Because you've already highlighted some of them. And what budgeting tools would you recommend for our viewers out there? Because that's one thing I'm always struggling with, right? Because if you list all of your, expenses, right, they might be running like more than 10. And of course, we can do the longhand math calculator. But yeah, you know, you have experience. So what budgeting tools out there, whether not to really zero down on any specific brand or company, but what would you recommend to our viewers out there? Budgeting tips and budgeting tools, like the basics.
Okay. So for the budgeting tips, what I would advise people is to have some level of trust in professionals. So basically, coming from Nigeria, West Africa, we try as much as possible to be jack of all trade, and sometimes we're not master of all of them. And we try to do stuff ourselves just to make sure that, okay, we're kind of like efficient with limited resources. We do a lot of research and all of that, which is good. So I believe coming to Canada, I had to do like some mind shift on certain things where, you know, there are people that are specialists at what they do. You have, you know, professionals in different industries. So having a trusted advisor, first of all, where you can ask, you know, questions, and they will be able to give you some insights from their own wealth of experience, is very key. And also, you know, reading and finding things out. One thing I notice with people is that most of the time, especially people within our community, most people are very quick to, you know, exchange value that they're expecting from another party, exchange the value for money. Like, they're fast to give money away. Like, if they want someone to do something for them, and they're quick to, you know, without doing so much research about, you know, the subject and, you know, the individual you are engaging with. So it's something that we need to, you know, look at very critically. And when it comes to budgeting as well, you mentioned that sometimes the expenses might be so much. The first thing is for you to even know what those expenses are, right? And one very good way to know is just to, you know, take a sneak peek into your statement, be it your credit card statement or your banking statement, where you know, swipe those cards, where you make those purchases. That will give you an idea of what your expenses are. We know the minimum, the basic expenses, which is utilities, rent, mortgage, you know, all of that. But there are sometimes that you make some purchases in the grocery store. So you need to, first of all, know where you're spending your money. That way you are able to now determine, okay, these are the bucket of expenses that you incur. And if you're trying to do this over time, and because again, cutting a budget is not just a one-time activity you just do and go to sleep. It's not like a one-size-fits-all. So every now and then you have to revise your budgets, review it to make sure it's in line with the realities. My wife and I had a budget when we started off this year, and trust me, the way prices of things have changed, our budget is no more realistic if we're working on what we're doing in January. So it's something to always revisit. Like I said, the first step is to outline what your expenses are. Then if you have the time, like I said, it's always the first step. The first time you're doing that budget, that is the main work, because you're trying to create a structure for yourself that will guide you going forward. So if it's not something you've done before, or you've probably done a crappy job in the past, then you'd have to give it some time and be honest to yourself. If you want to really make some progress in this, outline those aspects that you're spending money on. Then, you know, look at what you spend on an average over a period of time. Or if, for example, you don't want to go through all of that work, you could just assign something realistic with what you think you will be spending. Then, like I said, as much as you are reviewing budget, like maybe monthly or periodically, then you can make those adjustments into, you know, what is realistic. Then when you're talking about the tools, I usually start off by telling people a simple Excel sheet can, you know, help you get started first. Because even though you want to go sophisticated and download an app from the App Store, you first of all have to understand how the numbers work. And if you don't have a basic understanding of how the numbers work, then you will not get the value from those applications. And there are a lot of applications on the Play Store, free applications. I would always encourage people to start off with, free applications, free trials. Set an alarm when, the trial ends is very, very important so that you don't get dinged. And as you do this very often, you get very comfortable. And like I said at the beginning, talking about money can be very uncomfortable, even between married couples, right? But the truth is, the moment you are able to have a frank conversation with, your spouse or people that you care about with regards to your finance, then the right expectation is set. There's, less stress in the relationship, and everybody understands, what's going on per time.
Wow, that's really good. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So basically, I hear structure. And you have to spend some time, look at your bank statement, look at your credit card. I mean, you might know all your basic needs like utilities and all of that, but find a pattern of how you're spending your money. And then you could decide, is this a want or is this a need?
Gotcha.
So once you identify that, that's basically the first step in starting, to work on that budget, right? And then in terms of tools, go easy, go simple, understand, take the time to learn what, like you might see trends on your financial statements. Maybe look into those trends and see where you can make those adjustments. That's what I hear.
True.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So with that being said, let's talk about the life cycle approach to budgeting.
Okay. So this is one of my favorite parts when it comes to budgeting. The average human being has like 4 milestones within their lifetime financially that they have to, be aware of. There's the accumulation stage, there's the consolidation stage, there's the financial independence stage, and there's the gifting stage. Now, the truth of the matter is that it's not age dependent. So don't think because you are in your 50s or 60s, automatically you're in the gifting stage. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because what is a critical factor in any of these stages is the kind of decisions that you're making. And, there are certain traits and there are certain events that happen at, different stages that characterize which of the stages you're in. So I'll just mention a few. And the viewers can also do some more research about this, and because again, like I said, if the understanding of an item is not known, abuse is inevitable. So the first stage being the accumulation stage, this is typically a young professional just getting into the workforce and getting a job, trying to buy a house, build a family. So that person is at the accumulation stage, they're trying to accumulate assets. That person's life is characterized by, high mortgage balance, high loan balance, at that stage. Concern for day-to-day activities, high, childcare, maybe probably is a young family. Childcare is high, and most people find themselves in this stage. And depending on the kind of financial decisions you make, that will determine how long you stay there until you now graduate to the consolidation stage. So the next stage is the consolidation stage. At this point, this same individual has like about maybe 5 to 10 years under their belt professionally. At this point, the person is probably earning, higher, probably at a medium level or a managerial level. And this person has done a good job, making payments as and when due on the mortgage, and the balance on the mortgage is, reduced at this stage. Most of people in this stage, they probably have kids that are, grown, and they do not need to spend so much on childcare. So childcare is, less at this stage. So after, the activities that is experienced in this stage, the next stage is the financial independence, which is a very sweet spot to be in. And I think is a very fluid milestone as well, because the financial independent person is someone that has continued to make very informed financial decisions, and this person is either close to retirement or probably has retired. This person is relying heavily on fixed income. income from retirement, be it CPP or any form of pension, or maybe savings they have accumulated over the years that would support their lifestyle during retirement. So the funny thing about people in this stage is that their day-to-day worries is high. The reason is because these individuals have heavy investments that they rely on, and of course, anything that happens in the stock market, calls for their attention. So they get really worried, like, hey, I hope the market's not going to crash. I'm wondering if what I have saved is going to be enough for me long term during retirement. So the worries at this stage is kind of is normal for it to be on the high. People in this stage as well, they are done with childcare, and of course they probably do not even have any mortgage balance. So that's a very good place to be. And then after this stage, all things being done properly, we now have the gifting stage. So we have someone here that doesn't worry about the day-to-day worries of life, because what they're getting as income far exceed their expenses. So irrespective of whatsoever the market is doing, they are, very good and comfortable with what they are earning. They don't have, they probably have grandchildren. So, they are at the gifting stage of their lives and probably supporting charity, trying to do some good in the world, right? And like I said, it's not age dependent, because I've seen someone in her 60s, close to 70, she still had a high mortgage balance, right? And she was struggling with her fixed income that was coming in. It wasn't even enough for her to even meet her day-to-day expenses. So, of course, like I said, it's, tied to the decisions that we make at every point in time. And what I tell people that is never too late to get started. So don't feel that, oh yeah, you are maybe halfway into your lifetime, you're in your 50s, and, it's too late for you. I'll tell you it's not. Like, the moment you start making those good decisions, that's when your morning starts, right? And as far as you can be consistent, because it's all about the consistency. It's not you starting and stopping, but you being able to be consistent in those decision makings that will help you move forward in a positive manner. That's what's important.
Right. Well, I don't know about you. I want to get to the gifting stage, but it takes a lot of work making the right decision, right?
True.
And just understanding overall, how to manage the resources that you have now. So if you're only hearing about this today, this is your opportunity. Start from where you are, right? And it's never too late. It's better to start today than to wait, a year or, years later. So work hard to get to that gifting stage where
that's the goal.
where you can live the dream.
Yes.
And I know our communities were big on helping, and we have people back home that we're still supporting. So strive hard to get to that stage where we're able to help as many people
as we can.
The worst thing that would happen to you is somebody really needs help and they reach out to you and you're not able. That's not a good feeling.
Tough,
So budget. So I have a homework for you. You can go back, rewind, and listen to this life cycle that Andrew just explained, and just take time to reflect on what financial decisions you're making at the moment, and see how you can make adjustments, so that way you can get better every day until we all get to the gifting, the gifting stage. Thank you so much for that, Andrew.
You're welcome.
All right. So there's a reason why, people make certain financial decisions. There's a lot of factors. That's not something that's taught to us in school when we're growing up.
No way.
Some people might not be fortunate to be around families that have that understanding. So there's a thing called behavioral science of finances, right? Why don't you explain what that is? And then our viewers can understand better why people make decisions, certain financial decisions.
Yeah, true. Okay, an aspect of finance is called behavioral finance, and this is tied to the psychology of an individual that helps them to, make those decisions. And just for the purpose of the program today, I'll be touching base on the two critical concepts. The first one is the overconfidence bias, and the second one is the confirmation bias. What's the overconfidence bias? Being overconfident is the tendency of an individual to exaggerate their capabilities and the precision of their beliefs, which exposes them to making very high, excessive financial risk and even sometimes suboptimal financial decisions. And the second concept is the confirmation bias. The confirmation bias is the predisposition of a person to search and prioritize information to support their preconceived belief, while minimizing or dismissing evidence which can make them narrow-minded, or what you probably call blind spots. So I'll give you an example. So let's say someone says budgeting doesn't matter. The Lord shall supply all my needs according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. I don't have to, do any work about planning. But not knowing that, the Bible also says that who would want to build a house and not count the costs? Because when you now start to think in that direction, you create a blind spot for yourself, and there are certain things that you have to take note of that you don't. And, that can lead to imprudent financial decisions, which might, put people in some, very difficult situations. So we need to be very conscious of those biases that we may have with regards to, making informed financial decisions.
Wow, Andrew. Like, I'm gonna be watching this episode not just to watch it, but just to learn, because I know it's important, right? Like, we're trying to build something for the next generation, and this is where it starts. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Make sure you go back if you missed anything. Go back and rewatch this episode. We'll be bringing more on finances down the road. So, Andrew, based off all you've shared with us today,
yes,
how would you summarize all of that, including the experience, some of the experience you've had in the past? How would you summarize all of that in one word?
Consistency.
Okay, and why is that?
The reason is because every action and every decision you make, positive decisions, positive actions, would only matter and would only impact, the outcome if it's consistent. So it's not just all about, starting it. Like, I've had people say, oh, Andrew, you gave an awesome talk. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Then after a week, it's not consistent.
Yeah.
It's just like if you're working out, you're trying to maybe, you have like a weight goal or probably a body mass goal, and you do it for 2 weeks, 1 month, and you don't really see the kind of results you are looking for, and you stop because you're frustrated. Trust me, the last 1 month was just a waste of time. But the consistency in making those right financial decisions, having the big picture in view, because sometimes some people get very discouraged when they don't have the big picture in view. But just imagine you being able to meet your family's needs, at the time you want to, meet those needs.
Yeah.
That's a big picture, for you to, hold on to, that should help you be consistent. So I think one word would just be consistent.
And thank you. That's a powerful word, because you could apply that to any situation in your life, whether it's family or financing. You have your business. Consistency is the key. So thank you, because you may be good with your finances right now. You may be consistent, but there might be another aspect of your life that you might need to be consistent. So think on consistency all week, all your life. So, Andrew, before we go into the advice section, when I introduced you earlier, I introduced you as co-founder of Fleetwire Inc.
Okay.
You and your, partner, you figured out there was a need, and you decided to come up with this, I would say, app or platform
solution
to help people. So tell us what this is all about and how our viewers out there can benefit from it.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So basically, as a newly landed immigrant, we identified a gap in the system where we still have connections with back home, right? So we came to Canada trying to build a better life for ourselves. But of course, we didn't burn the bridges, right? We still have family members, friends, and loved ones that we support as well. So we identified that there was a problem or difficulty in people being able to, send money back home or connect with family and friends and, fund those projects that are dear to their hearts. And the only solutions in existence then was, WhatsApp groups and little communities here that, didn't have some level of integrity to rely on. So we went into, went to the what would I call it now? We went into the thinking room, and we came up with this solution where people would be able to, send money back home from Canada in a very cost-effective manner and at a speed that, they are happy with, at an efficiency that they are happy with. So that was, the birth of Fleetwire. It's still in existence today. People are, using it, and there are a lot of solutions that, had come up after that because of, the need and the increase in the number of immigrants that we have here in Canada. Yeah.
Okay. So it's on the App Store?
Yeah, it's on the App Store. Yes.
Awesome. All right, so check that out. And I know every one of you out there send money back home or somewhere. So check it out. And like Andrew said, make sure you have more additional information, do your research.
Sure.
And see if that's something for you that could work for you. Okay. All right. So thank you to you and your partner for coming up with such a lovely solution, and a lot of people are benefiting from that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Andrew, they said behind every successful man, there's a strong woman. There's a family, there's a community.
Yeah.
I know you have a beautiful wife, you have 2 young boys. So tell us about your family, all of the supports, because I know your lovely wife, Loveline, my sister, she's also in the finance world, and you guys have come a long way. So just tell us a little bit more about them.
Okay. So I'm married to Loveline, an awesome lady. Like, she's my biggest fan, to be honest. And I always, tease her a bit that in life I've made 3 very important decisions, like the 3 best decisions I've made. The first one is giving my life to Christ. The second one is being married to my wife, and the third one is coming to Canada, in that order, right? Nice. And I have 2 amazing boys, Sean and Asher. They're growing up real fast, and I'm so proud of them. And they have been a huge support, keep me going, like even when things don't pan out like I expect. And of course life happens, there's always a fluctuation up and down, but whenever I look at the family that God has blessed me with, I'm just full of gratitude.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks, Loveline. Thanks for being a rock to this young man here, and thanks for giving him to our platform today for this couple hours. We really appreciate all of his insight here today. So you have your family. It could be a friend. It doesn't have to be biological, but we create, especially. Some people moved from overseas here. They don't even have anyone.
True.
But you could start building a family here, a church, a community. So thank you for, telling us a little bit about your beautiful family.
Sure.
So let's go into our advice section.
Okay.
What advice do you have for our viewers out there in terms of identifying good financial information? Because we know there's so much out there.
Yeah, true.
It's like information overload. So what would be your advice in terms of that?
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there, both correct, incorrect, and partially correct. What I always advise people to do is to, do your research. Like, do not take my word for it, right? Do not take my word for it. And always ask the right questions and connect with professionals, people that are specialists in that area, right? So even though I have a decent, knowledge about finances, I still, have interactions with people in the industry just to make sure that, I stay trendy and know what is relevant at the time that I'm, trying to make that decision as well. So there's no man that is an island. Don't try to do it all by yourself. Always ask questions, identify people that, you could tell that these people have the experience that you probably don't have. And like I always say to people, there's no shame in, identifying your weakness or where you need help with regards to the information that you're seeking. But most especially, just do your research and you'll be able to tie, all of these concepts together and be able to make an informed decision and know which one is correct at the end of the day and which one isn't. Then another tip that I always have for people is to be able to determine the type of, credit that fits your need, right? I'll use one as an example. So credit card debts can be very dangerous and is the easiest to access these days, right? So I remember when we came into Canada then, I think I'd barely even gotten a bank account. Next thing I just got this letter in the mail. I won't mention the name of the company, but probably may know that I'm pre-qualified for a $3,000 or $7,000 credit limit, right? And for someone that was coming into Canada that didn't understand how, credit cards work, because it's a different ball game coming from, Nigeria and coming into Canada, right? Most people till today do not understand when, they get statements and saying that, okay, your statement balance is this, and you have 21 days free interest period. Due dates. Some people don't understand that. I've seen people, incur credit card debts and they're paying it the next day. Basically, it doesn't really work that way. But the point I'm just trying to make here is that there are two basic concepts when you're, looking at a credit card. There's the credit limit and there's a credit balance. The credit balance is what you owe, and the credit limit is the extent to which you can use that card. So most times when you're looking at your statement, you probably be seeing, okay, credit balance, let's say for a $5,000 credit limit, it will tell you that your credit balance is $1,000, you owe $1,000, and you have available $4,000. But guess what? It's always good to keep your eye on that balance piece and try as much as possible within your limits to, pay down on that balance before the due date. Because one thing I tell people is that credit actually reduces the future purchasing power of your income, right? So if you are not paying down your credit balances when due, you'll be charged interest rates on that. And guess what? The money that you plan to earn in the future is going to be used to be paying off a credit that you incurred maybe a couple of years ago. And if it's not managed properly, some of those balances now be core. When I mean core, C-O-R-E, it becomes core, and you are only able to make a payment to a certain amount. Maybe probably if you incur the debt like $4,000, you pay down to $2,000, you refresh it again to $4,000, it comes down to $2,000. The lower $2,000 becomes a problem for you to pay because your future earnings is not supporting you enough to do that, right? And guess what? The credit card interest is compounded on a daily basis. So take, for example, a company tells you that the interest rate on your credit card is 15% per annum, right? That's the nominal interest rate. And they will also tell you on your bank statement that minimum payment is $10. And there are some people that think that it's okay to keep paying that $10 before the due date. But guess what? The truth is your interest is compounding on a daily basis. And for that 15% interest rate credit card, you can end up paying an interest rate of 23% effectively for the year, which is crazy as far as I'm concerned. So it's something that we need to be very careful about when you are making decisions on the type of credit you want to get. It should be for what it's for, which is maybe for emergencies. Let's say something happens and you didn't plan for it, and you now have a plan to pay that off over a period of time. It's not something to, go on a vacation or, buy a luxury item on a credit card debt. It's not in your best interest because, like I said again, all of this debt, reduces the purchasing power of future earnings, and you don't want to do that.
Wow. Yeah. So thank you so much. This information is priceless. So you have this at your disposal. Watch it, consume it as much as you're able to. and make those changes. Because Andrew mentioned at one point in time, acquiring knowledge is one thing, but you have to apply. So I'm hoping that, people that need this information can apply it. So basically, get a structure, be consistent. Life happens. Work on the foundation, get your structure going, and then just revise your budget as you go along, because life happens, right? So you might make more money, you might make less, all of that. So we really appreciate you, Andrew, for being on this platform today.
Yeah, for sure. It's a
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. I know we've been planning this for a while, so I'm so happy that
got it on the road.
we finally get to it.
Yeah.
And I just knew this information will bless somebody out there. So, hopefully you can, apply the information that you've received today. I know I will be applying some of those. That applies to my situation. So thank you all so much for being with us here today. We appreciate your time. Continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Medan Productions, on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. We really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate Andrew here today. So I want to give shout out to Al Maria Beauty Salon and Spa, Maria Tusese, my own person, and Mariama Ali. If you're always wondering why I look so pretty, for me, it's all about my hair. So I really appreciate these two beautiful ladies. If you're in Edmonton and you wanna check their salon out, wait or scroll till the end of the episode, and you'll find the information and the address. All right, so thank you all so much for all of your time today, and until our next episode, as I always say, it's our lives and it's our stories. And Andrew, why don't you say goodbye to our listeners and viewers?
Bye-bye and have a good day.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.